But ethical, there's different types of CSR. There's ethical CSR, and this is where organizations, they pursue a defined sense of social conscience in managing financial responsibilities to shareholders, legal responsibilities to the local community and society as a whole, and ethical responsibilities to do the right thing for all of their stakeholders. And then there's altruistic CSR. This is where organizations take a philanthropy approach by underwriting specific initiatives to give back to the company's local community or to designated national or international programs. Philanthropic initiatives are authorized without concerns for the corporation's overall profitability. And then there's strategic CSR. Philanthropic activities are targeted towards programs that will generate the most positive publicity for the organization, but it runs the risk of being perceived as self-serving behavior on the part of the organization. So that's CSR. I want to talk just a bit as I close out this chapter 4 for you, and that is something called the carbon footprint. The total carbon dioxide emissions on an annual basis is what this is all about. When you hear the term carbon neutral, this is a way to offset the damage that's being done to the environment through greenhouse gas emissions by purchasing credits from a carbon positive project. There's Kyoto Protocol, and the Kyoto Protocol, however you want to pronounce it, it requires that developed nations that they reduce their greenhouse gas emissions by funding projects in developing countries in return for them getting carbon credits. So we've talked about the overall business ethics, talked about ethics in general and the value statement, talked about organizational ethics, and now here we are as a part of ethics. We've just talked about corporate social responsibility. There are many areas that you can see where when you think about certain things as maybe pesticide being used on crops, you see where there's environmental concern when it comes to different things like that. And then you think about PR and corporate posturing, and some people think that when corporations are participating or saying that they're participating in corporate social responsibility, that this is all a publicity scheme. So one way or the other, just remember that these types of things that are important to the community, things that are important to stakeholders, those things can drive the types of initiatives that corporations may be involved in. And it can also affect whether or not an organization is considered ethical or not. When you see companies like the BP oil spill, they had to do a lot of PR to kind of clean up their act, because the world saw them as irresponsible. And so you see that they partnered with Dawn or Procter & Gamble and some of the others to make sure that there was a message out there that they cared about the environment, and they were going to do everything as quick as possible to get the environment cleaned up from that huge oil spill. Companies put processes in place so they're not perceived by stakeholders as being irresponsible. When companies are seen as being irresponsible, you can see adverse effects on that company where folks just don't want to do business with them. Folks get disgusted by them. Thus, when that's the case, profits can plunge And when profits plunge, that will have an adverse impact on the organization, because stockholders then are not having they're just not having profit maximization. And when that happens, employees get laid off. There's just customers aren't happy. So it's just a reciprocal effect where ethics can play a big part in how we do business. And then when you say that you're a Christian organization and you're supposed to be guided by the golden rule, corporate social responsibility, I think, is even more something that needs to be thought of. Not that I'm saying that you lose money to do social programs, but what I am saying is that when you think about some of what goes on, is told in Scripture or said in Scripture about, we give alms to the poor and we take care of, those that are orphans and those that are widows, those types of scriptures. So how does that tie to corporate social responsibility? Do you participate in helping the homeless, feeding the homeless? Is there a program within your company where you're reaching out and maybe supporting orphanages or something? I'm not saying that that's something that you have to do. I am saying that this is something that we consider. When we talk about looking at ethics and looking at corporate social responsibility through the lenses of the Bible, how does that look to you? So thanks for listening to me as we talk about chapter 4. I'll see you over in chapter 5.